Hello, Philo lovers and admirers. This is Philo Heads. Don't forget to subscribers, like, and leave a comment about what you think. The first roots of philosophy, how humanity began to ask why. Imagine standing on a quiet hill nearly 2,600 years ago. There are no smartphones, no laboratories, no telescopes, no science textbooks, only the stars above, the sea before you, and one question echoing through your mind. Why does any of this exist? For thousands of years, people answered that question with stories about gods, divine beings, and mythical creatures. Thunder was the anger of a god. Earthquakes were the footsteps of giants. The changing seasons were gifts or punishments from heaven. But then something extraordinary happened. A small group of thinkers living around the Greek city of Miletus dared to ask a different kind of question. Instead of asking, which god caused this? They asked, what natural principle explains this? That simple shift became one of the greatest turning points in human history. Today we will travel back to meet the first philosophers, discover what they believed the universe was truly made of, and see how later thinkers challenged and improved their ideas. This is the story of the birth of philosophy. 1 Thales. Everything begins with water. Our story begins with Thales of Miletus, often called the first philosopher. Thales looked around him and noticed something remarkable. Every living thing depended on water. Plants died without it. Animals searched constantly for it. Rain brought life. Seeds grew only when watered. Even rivers seemed to shape the land itself. So Thales proposed a revolutionary idea. He said, water is the fundamental substance of everything. To modern ears, this sounds simple. But remember, this was the first serious attempt to explain nature without relying on myths. Instead of saying, the gods created everything, Thales searched for a natural explanation. His answer may have been wrong, but his method changed history forever. 2. Anaximander. Beyond water. One of Thales' students, Anaximander, admired his teacher but wasn't convinced. He asked an important question. If everything comes from water, where does fire come from? Water and fire seem to destroy each other. How could one produce its opposite? So Anaximander introduced an astonishing idea. He argued that the origin of everything wasn't water at all. Instead, it was something he called the apeiron, meaning the infinite or the boundless. It had no shape, no beginning, no end. From this limitless source, all opposite things, hot and cold, wet and dry, light and darkness, emerged. This was one of the earliest examples of abstract thinking in philosophy. 3. Anaximenes, the power of air. Then came Anaximenes. He believed both Thales and Anaximander had missed something. He proposed that air was the true foundation of reality. Why air? Because air surrounds everything. We breathe it every second. Without it, life ends within minutes. He believed that when air became compressed, it transformed into wind, clouds, water, earth, and finally stone. When it expanded, it became fire. Although incorrect scientifically, this was another attempt to explain natural change through observable processes rather than mythology. Part 4. Heraclitus. Everything changes. Next enters one of philosophy's most mysterious figures, Heraclitus. He observed rivers flowing endlessly. He watched fire constantly changing shape. He noticed that every living thing grows, ages, and dies. From these observations, he reached a profound conclusion. Everything is constantly changing. He famously declared, you cannot step into the same river twice. Why? Because by the second step, the water has already flowed away. And you have changed too. For Heraclitus, change wasn't the exception. Change was reality itself. Fire became his symbol, not because everything literally came from fire, but because fire never stays the same while remaining fire. Part 5. Parmenides. Change is an illusion. Then another philosopher arrived with an argument that shocked everyone. His name was Parmenides. He completely rejected Heraclitus. Parmenides claimed nothing truly changes. Think about that. He argued that if something changes, it must become something it wasn't before. But how can something come from nothing? It cannot. Therefore, change must be an illusion created by our senses. Only reason reveals the truth. Reality, according to Parmenides, is eternal, unchanging, and complete. This debate between change and permanence would influence philosophy for thousands of years. The great turning point. Now imagine these philosophers sitting together. Thales says, "Everything is water." Anaximander replies, "No, it is the infinite." Anaximenes argues, "It is air." Heraclitus interrupts, "You're all missing the point. Everything changes." Then Parmenides calmly answers, "No, nothing changes." Each philosopher disagreed, yet something united them all. None relied on myth, all relied on reason, and that changed the world. The critics who changed philosophy. Again, later philosophers admired these pioneers, but also criticized them. Socrates believed they spent too much time asking what the universe is made of. Instead, he asked, "How should we live?" He shifted philosophy toward ethics, justice, and the human soul. Then came Plato. He argued that the physical world constantly changes and therefore cannot be the highest reality. Behind everything we see exists a perfect world of eternal forms. Finally, Aristotle criticized both Plato and the earlier philosophers. He believed true knowledge comes from carefully observing nature and combining observation with logical reasoning. His approach became the foundation of science for centuries. Conclusion. Today, we know that the universe is not made entirely of water, air, or fire. Yet these early philosophers gave humanity something even more valuable than correct answers. They gave us a new way of thinking. They taught us to question, to observe, to reason, to challenge accepted beliefs. Every scientific discovery, every philosophical debate, every attempt to understand reality can trace its roots back to those first courageous thinkers who dared to ask, what is the world really made of? And perhaps that is the greatest lesson they left us. The beginning of wisdom is not having all the answers. It is having the courage to ask the first question. Thanks for today, and keep asking everything. Don't forget to subscribers, like, and leave a comment about what you think.